Hey there riders, MotoJourno Chris here today, and I wanted to have a quick chat about gearing up for adventure riding, because having done a fair bit of research myself to get into it, it is a little bit complicated, and I thought I'd save you a little bit of time by going over kind of what I've discovered and what all that research has shown. As you can see behind me, I've got two very different sets of gear. I've got off-road gear. This is what you'll see your motocross, enduro, supercross guys wearing when it comes to competing on the weekend, so possibly your racing heroes. And then you've got here on the left the adventure gear. Now adventure gear comes in a couple of different types. What we've got here is a DRIRIDER RallyCross Pro 3 jacket and pant, and that is the do-it-all jacket. There's also technical jackets essentially which are similar to this but don't have all of the lining and kind of the extras that this kind of do-it-all jacket has. So when it comes to adventure riding, very much a matter of balancing your road riding and your off-road riding, and that's really where all of this comes down to. So obviously this is a case of you needing to pick the right gear for you. If you're doing 90% road, perhaps you could get away with just your regular road gear. If you're doing a fair bit of proper adventuring, so all kinds of mixed conditions including off-road, you're probably going to want to get something specific for that kind of riding, because believe me, it is quite different than your regular road riding. And if you're doing a heap of off-road, a heap of dirt, what you're going to want to do is pick up some really, proper dirt riding gear, because this gear is designed specifically for people who are really going out on the dirt doing proper off-roading, and there's a heap of really physical activity involved. And what's vitally important there is being able to get great breathability, obviously your full range of movement, and on top of that, a whole heap of armour, which is normally hidden away by stuff like this Fly Racing Evolution DST gear. So as you will see here, we've got a jersey. Jerseys are relatively simple. You've got the pants, which are a fair bit more high tech. There's a lot more that goes into the pants. I'm going to cover all of these pieces of gear separately and talk about them individually in separate videos, so don't worry if you're interested in a single piece of this gear and want to know more about it. And then over the back here, you've actually got, if you've spotted it, the Fly Racing Barricade long sleeve suit, which is a full upper body suit which offers all the armor that you could possibly need. And that's a very much, do it all in the one go kind of thing for your upper body, but it's not just about the upper body. You're also going to need some proper knee armor. This is a knee guard. There are also knee braces which take the protection up to a much higher level. A knee guard, essentially what that does is it protects your knees from any hard knocks, and the great thing about that is like something like this straps onto your knee, which a lot of people highly recommend that because it keeps it in the right place when you're riding and when something goes wrong. Now, a knee brace, which I'm not going to cover, knee braces are far more expensive, and what they're aimed at doing is making sure that if your leg is twisted, that they protect you from that. This is the Fly Racing 5 pivot knee guard. As you can see here, there's a heap of movement in it, so it moves with you, but it still doesn't offer the kind of protection that a knee brace does. You need to spend a lot more money to get into that kind of thing. So obviously with the off-roading gear, as I've mentioned, you've got your jersey, you've got your pants, you've got your armor, you've got your knee armor, and you've got your gloves. And one thing you'll notice is if you're a road rider, we're used to reasonably heavy gloves. I think there are some people who'll go for the lightest glove they can find because they just don't like there being something between their hands and the throttle and the bars. Fair enough, but generally speaking, I go for, even in my light gloves, a nice full leather glove. When you're off-roading, it's very much about the feel and, like I said, about the breathability and full movement, because you're just so much more active than you would be on a road bike. And that's where something like these Fly Racing Evolution gloves come in. It is very, very easy to forget I'm even wearing them. That's how good they are. Now, let's have a look over at the adventure gear. So as I was saying, the adventure jackets come in essentially two varieties. I mean, there's just so much to choose from, and the main thing, as I said before, is you need to pick the right jacket specifically for your riding. Now, as I said, again, it comes down to basically that mix between road and off-road. The off-road riding gear with all the armor, that is very much designed so that if you go off the bike, you've got heaps of impact protection, because you're going down in the dirt and it's a very different situation. However, on the road, one of the biggest fears as a road rider is you basically skittling off down the road, and all road gear is designed to offer abrasion resistance, which is very different than impact resistance. Obviously, impact, smacking into something, abrasion is you sliding along the road and it just wearing through whatever you're wearing. Now, if you're not wearing anything at all, it's going to just wear straight through your skin. If you're wearing good gear, hopefully you'll come to a stop unharmed before it gets down to your skin. Now, with something like the DRIRIDER RallyCross Pro 3 gear, you're getting two quite different pieces of gear here between the jacket and the pants. I am going to do a full review on each of these products, but I will very quickly go across what you're looking for in an adventure jacket. So as I said, you can get jackets which are just an outer shell. And what you do with that kind of choice is you put all your layers on underneath and you put your armor on underneath. They do normally have the external armor. Armor like this is a dead giveaway for adventure gear, because if you go down in the dirt, you want that outer armor to help it from just tearing up your gear. So obviously that offers an extra level of protection, and it stops your gear from being ruined the first time you go down on, something maybe a little bit harder than just soft loam, but also a lot softer than the road. Now, on top of that, this is backed up by armor under there, and you've got the same in the shoulder, external armor, CE armor inside the jacket. The outer shell of this jacket is a heavy duty mesh, so that is designed to breathe very, very well. Probably comparable to, a quite high-end touring jacket, which has got heaps and heaps of mesh in it for summer, and then relies on the layers below to be able to offer the kind of thermal protection that you need. And of course, there's a waterproof liner. So in this, it's a one jacket does it all option, and that, I have to say, you could use it as a touring jacket, adventure jacket, everyday jacket really. I haven't had a chance to test it in summer yet because it's the middle of winter here, and it's just a jacket which aims to do it all for you. And for 420 bucks Australian, that is a great buy-in. That's about what you'd pay for most jackets, and this offers a heap of versatility. Couple of other features, it's got plentiful pockets, including some hand warmer pockets there. The arms actually zip off. So if you were riding with your off-road gear underneath this jacket, you might decide to zip those arms off because you might have some armor on underneath for your arms, and you could ride just with kind of that central vest. It's also got a hydration system, which is particularly important for long distance riding or riding off-road where you're doing a heap of activity. Now, the pants, they're a little bit different. They don't have the thermal liner. They do have a waterproof liner, and they are specifically designed for adventure riding. So they're a little bit more different to a touring pant because they don't have the really heavy duty liners in them. And on top of that, you don't get any knee armor in this either, because the assumption is you'll probably be wearing some knee armor underneath. The good thing about this is these have got plenty of room underneath, so you can fit your armor under these very, very easily. You could also wear a pair of Kevlar jeans. I've got my DRIRIDER jeans, and I can put knee armor in them, and that would be another option that could go under this really well if you were worried about the knee armor. There's also plentiful room for a big off-road boot here, and of course you've got pockets. You've got these really cool pockets and vents. You've got pockets on the legs so they're accessible on the bike, and then you've got plenty of venting. On top of that, you've also got your adventure gloves up the top here. These are what they call a mid-cuff. They're kind of a bit of a do-it-all glove, I have to say. They do remind me of the DRIRIDER winter glove, which I like so much. And these are the Explorer glove. And essentially what you're getting there is it's not too heavy, so if you are doing a bit of off-roading, particularly in winter, they're going to be ideal. However, you might choose the lighter glove, like the Fly Racing glove for the pure dirt, but for on the road, they're going to offer a good level of protection. Now, obviously, I'm trying to do this really, really quickly because there's just so much to cover. What else is there to look at? There's also, of course, your helmet. Now, as you can see here, this isn't a purely off-road helmet. This is the Shoei Hornet ADV helmet, and this is designed again as a do-it-all option. This particular helmet is more road orientated. It's a little bit heavier than some of the off-road helmets, which can get super light. However, the thing to keep in mind is if you go an off-road helmet, the wind noise is often a real issue for people, and on top of that, you'll need to wear goggles. With this, you've got a visor. Running around on the freeway, very little noise, and the wind protection is exceptional. It's also going to be great in all weather conditions for a more touring style riding, and it has a very easily removable peak, so you can use it pretty much anywhere. You could take that peak off and run it as an everyday helmet, and you don't need to buy multiple helmets. One point of note with this particular helmet is the fact it's got quite a sharp chin on it. This is to give you plenty of breathing room in this section here, because when you're going off-road, you're going to be really working hard and you need to be able to breathe easily. You can also add helmets to this without actually having to take the visor off. You just put it in the fully up position and you run around. This is an exceptional option, if you ask me, for someone looking for the flexible option that's going to do it all. Alright, I left it till last, but arguably one of the most important pieces of kit that you're going to be looking at for adventure and off-road riding. When on the road, we talk about helmets a heap, and we also talk about obviously wearing leather gear. I think probably the equivalent for off-roading is having a really good pair of boots. You want plentiful protection and you want a really well supported boot. And there's pure off-road like motocross style boots, and then there's something like this. This is the Sidi Adventure 2 Gore-Tex boot, and it's an exceptional boot. I've worn this a fair bit now. I'll be doing a review on the boot as first impressions, and I'll be doing a long-term review down the track as well. But I've got to say, you can walk around in it. I found it instantly comfortable, which is really important. You've got two buckles here. You've also got Velcro at the top, which I think that's a bit of a personal preference as to what people prefer. It's got plentiful protection down around the ankles. It's obviously got the hinge there, and it is fully waterproof, and it's got Gore-Tex in it as well, right up to the top of the boot, which means that you're getting a really top level of waterproofing, which obviously some people want that, some people don't. Having the waterproofing generally means a boot won't breathe quite as well as a fully perforated boot, but if you're doing adventure touring, chances are you're going to get caught in the rain pretty often, and something like this may well be exactly what you're after. Okay, so this has gotten a bit on the long side. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea about what kind of stuff you need to look at if you're looking at becoming an adventure rider, or if you're just a new rider looking for gear and you want to go adventuring. It's really important, of course, to buy what you particularly need for your kind of riding, and it's very important that you're going to buy the gear that suits your budget. And I've got to say, you can wear the full off-road gear, so the full Fly Racing Evolution DST gear here with all the armour underneath that adventure gear without a drama at all. But if you're a new rider, you might want to go for the adventure gear first, like this DRIRIDER RallyCross Pro 3 gear I've got here. And if you're 90% off-road rider, you might want to go for the off-road gear first. Really comes down to what you personally prefer. So I'm going to go into a heap of detail on each of these pieces of gear in the next couple of videos, so stay tuned for that. But if you've got any specific questions about getting started adventure riding as far as the gear I've talked about, just let me know. I'll do the absolute best I can to answer your questions, and if I don't know, I'll go and find out. Anyway, stay safe out there, have a good one, and I'll be back soon.